Hello. I missed you. I did. I have been so absent. And my only excuse is I kind of told you I wouldn't be good at this. Kind of told you guys I wouldn't be good at this. I'm going to mute my computer because that is what that sound is. Um, do I know how to mute my computer? I think that did it. No, that did it. Okay, now it's muted. Sorry. Honestly, it will probably happen again. But today I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about negativity, and specifically negativity in law enforcement culture and law enforcement families. So one of the things that I hear a lot is, why does my cop hate like everything and also everyone? And from a lot of the law enforcement officers, I hear, I hate everything and everyone. So we're all on the same page. There is sort of this element of negativity that tends to come along with law enforcement work. And my goal today is sort of to explain why and give strategies to work against that if you choose to. So one of the things, and speaking to law enforcement families right now, so spouses, partners, parents, the cop supporters. One of the reasons that you're noticing this in your cop is a chemistry issue. So there is just an adrenaline dump, and we've all heard about adrenaline dumps and what that does, like when you have a lot in your blood and then it crashes and there's this big exhaustion effect, and it's pretty emotional, and you kind of go into like almost a little bit of a depressive state for a short period of time. So that's part of it. That law enforcement work has the heightened awareness, the heightened nervous system. A lot of times adrenaline is involved, cortisol is involved, a lot of stress, a lot of high speeds, okay? And when you come off of that, everything else feels boring. And everything feels very gray, and everything feels very blah. And that's tough. Like, that's tough. That's a chemistry issue that cops are working against or trying to work with. There's something called the window of tolerance. And in the window of tolerance is when we are at our best. We are interested in life. We are engaged. We are making conscious decisions. We are on, okay? And there's a top and a bottom to the window of tolerance. And most of us are familiar that when you shoot above the top, when you break through this barrier of the window of tolerance, then we know how to calm ourselves back down, because we know that when we're really angry, when we're really nervous, when we're really worked up, when we are activated, we know that we need to calm down, take a breath. These are the things that we hear, like take a breath, calm down, give yourself some time, then make the decision or take the action or whatever. And what people are referring to is you are above the top parameter of your window of tolerance. And in calming down, you'll come back into your window of tolerance where our decisions are the best and our mood is the best and the state of mind that we're in is the best. What people are less familiar with, and this happens to law enforcement officers a lot, is there's a bottom to the window of tolerance too. So when you shoot above, you have escalated heart rate, you're mad, you're possibly yelling, your heart, I already said your heart, your temperature will go up, your face will turn red, you get the blood pressure behind the eyes, right? All those are like, okay, we're above the window of tolerance, come back down into it. When you dip below the window of tolerance, which can happen with an adrenaline dump, you start to shut down. You don't feel anything, you go numb, you're tired, you're bored, you're probably kind of ornery, but not in a high energy ornery, like in a I do not care state. And it's the same thing, you're outside of your window of tolerance. So if we need to calm down to get back into it, to get back up into it, if you dip below it, then you need stimulation of some sort. So, a lot of times that's exercise. A lot of law enforcement officers use exercise, but that is not the only option. Really, anything that when you are in your window of tolerance, when you're in a healthy frame of mind, things that you find interesting and enjoyable and grab your attention and are things that you want to do, those things will bring you back into it. You're just not going to want to do them. So there's a skill involved in understanding and recognizing I've dipped below my window of tolerance. So I'm not going to want to do the things that are actually the answer. Anything but the answer sounds good. So being on a screen, just chilling, taking a nap, those types of things, that is not going to help you. That is not going to fix what you're up against, because you don't need to come down, you need to come back up. Okay? So to the law enforcement families, I want you to understand it's not you that they're bored with. It's not your life that they're bored with. They don't have an apathy towards the relationship or the family or the life that you've built. This is a chemistry issue. They've dipped below their window of tolerance, which is expected with dramatic chemistry changes in the blood system. And there is a skill involved in just tipping back into the window of tolerance, and then everything is normal again. Just like when you're too hot, you got to cool down. When you're too cold, you got to warm up. And that works for non-cops too. That is a human thing. It just is more noticeable, I think, or maybe more dramatic in cops because of the job they do. So that's that. Sort of a tip for that, just speaking to the cops now, transition time is really important. There is sort of this saying that joy at all speeds. And joy at all speeds means that whether you are in a really fast-paced moment or in a very slow-paced moment or something in between, there is something to be absorbed and enjoyed at every speed. You just got to learn how to shift gears. Otherwise, you're going to be happy at work and miserable at home, or happy at home and miserable at work, right? And so there really is, it is worth your time to learn how to enjoy all speeds and how to shift gears. The commute home is often used to do this. So if you can, and I've, anyone who's been in my classes has heard me say this 1,000 times, if you can listen to something funny, listen to comedy, get an audio book that you're interested in. If it can be non-law enforcement related, that's best, but I get it. If that's where you're at, that's where you're at. But it really can help you shift gears if you use your commute intentionally. Some people use silence, some people use whatever it is. And as people are working from home, they're not getting the commute. And I honestly have advised several people to just, at the end of your workday at home, go for a drive as if you do have a commute, because we've got to learn how to shift gears, or you're just going to be shooting above the window of tolerance and then below it and then above it and then below it. And there's just not a lot of contentment there. And that's when the negativity starts. I hate everything. I hate everyone. Everything's stupid. Everything's bullshit. Everything's, and that negativity is not fun. It's not fun to have inside of you, and it certainly is not fun to be around. Another tip on that is have positive anticipation. So the healthiest people have 2 to 3 things that they look forward to a day. So it can be as small as your coffee in the morning, but it can't be like, oh, in this moment, I just realized I'm enjoying the weather, right? Because while you'll accumulate a positive emotion, you don't get the anticipation. In order to have positive anticipation, it has to be planned ahead of time. So 2 to 3 a day. And the daily ones are usually pretty small, but 1 or 2 bigger ones a week, like an outing that you're going to go on, or a project you're going to work on, or something, right? Okay, so everything feels exhausting, everything feels boring, window of tolerance, that's sort of the number 1 reason. Another reason, another big one, number 2, that I want to talk about is preventing disappointment. So because cops often are so disappointed because either a criminal gets away, the system fails, a victim chooses not to cooperate, an administrator makes a decision that they disagree with, the public doesn't support them, there's a new policy that affects them, there's like a million reasons, right? There's sort of this constant state of disappointment. And in an effort to not feel disappointed, a lot of times cops will choose to stay in a state of disappointment, which of course doesn't work. And it's subconscious. It makes sense, because if your expectation is here and this is the reality, that gap, that fall from expectation to reality is what we call disappointment. So in order to not fall, we just stay down here all the time. But understand, it's down here that creates the negative feeling, and emotion and state of mind. It's not the fall, it's just where you land. It's the landing spot. So staying in a negative landing spot, staying chronically disappointed by never having positive expectations or anticipations is not working as well as you think it is. And so knowing that you're doing that is step one. And step two would be to monitor your expectations. And if they are always negative, probably bump them up a little bit. And also make sure that your expectations are flexible. Preventing disappointment is about addressing the gap between expectation and reality, not about staying down so that you never have to fall. That's not going to work. That doesn't even make sense. But in our subconscious brain, it's a good option. Just stay miserable so that you don't have to feel miserable. You heard that, right? So, sort of a tip for that is are your expectations flexible? So are you expecting, I am going to enjoy this, whatever this thing is, because that has some room to drop, that has room for disappointment? Or is it, I'm going to try this, my expectation is to try this thing and adjust as I go if it's not working out? That's flexible enough that you can find a positive outcome no matter what. And there's also sort of this idea that aligning, speaking to cops now, sorry, I jumped back and forth, speaking to the cops now, aligning with a cause instead of the outcome is going to help buffer a lot of the disappointment. So if you are aligned with always closing the case, catching the bad guy, getting, justice being served, all those things, there's only one scenario in which you're going to feel okay about everything, and that's if things go your way. But we know that the system isn't perfect, and we know that sometimes the bad guy gets away, and we know that sometimes whatever. We know those things, right? And instead of staying in a chronic state of disappointment, I'm offering to you that it might be more effective for you and might meet your needs better if you align with the cause, not the outcome. And that way, if you are doing your best work, if you are being the police officer that you want to be, and you're doing your half, then you're in line with where you want to be, regardless of the outcome. Of course, we prefer good outcomes. Of course we do. But we also know that that's not how it always works. So if you're aligned with the outcome, a minimum of 50% of the time, you're going to be very disappointed and upset. And that leads to this pervasive, consistent negative mindset and that really invasive negativity. However, if you are aligned with the cause and being a part of the cause is enough for you, then whether you win or whether you lose, you're not going to lose any passion for it, any enthusiasm for it. You're not going to feel like you need to stay in a state of constant negativity or disappointment to prevent disappointment. There will be more flexibility and acceptance around it, and an ability to continue to fight the fight without having to win every single time in order to believe it's worth fighting. Does that make sense? Hopefully. So that's what I've got for you today. I hope everyone has a safe and happy holiday. And hopefully I'll get one more out before Christmas, but I am not going to make promises I can't keep. So anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.